notes out here. All right. My name is Angie, and I'm excited to be here talking with you guys today. There's nothing honestly super special that brings me up here when you guys are down there. I'm the same position as all of you guys. I'm just trying to be brave and be up here. So this week I was even talking to my dad about how when I was growing up, I was a little kid that was hiding behind my mom's leg. Like if someone came up and said hi to me, my dad was a pastor, so this happened often. I'd hide behind her leg and like, don't look at me, like talk to me, like I don't even, just ignore me, pretend I'm not here. If one time when I was little, I hit my head on a table and everyone was in the room and I wouldn't cry until my mom took me out of the room because I didn't want people to look at me. So me being up here is definitely a God thing. I would never have pictured myself up here. This is my second time speaking in front of women, and so bear with me if I struggle a little. So I've been married to Tim. You saw his picture on the slideshow. We've been married 11 years. We've had some really amazing years of marriage. We've had some really hard years of marriage. One of the struggles that we faced in our marriage, probably like 7 years ago, was infertility. We couldn't have kids, and I didn't understand it. After a few years, God led us to adoption, and you saw the picture of my kids on the screen. We actually adopted all 3 of them at one time from foster care. And so that was actually 6 years ago. Thank you. It's hard. The time has flown by. So when we adopted them, they were 1, 3, and 5. Now they're 7, 9, and 10. And they're doing pretty good. So we moved to Calamasa this year, which is right outside of Yucaipa. And I love it out there. It's less people, more land, more space. It's amazing. We attend Sandals Church in Mentone, and we've been there for about 4 years. And I also work at the Baptist Association, which is how I got connected to this church, because you're one of the churches in our association, and I've been there for 10 years. So after that quick overview of my life, I can't leave out the most important part, which is my dogs. It's true. Any animal lovers in here? Thank you. Yeah. So some people don't understand that, but my husband, he was at work the other week, and they asked him, if you could be any animal, what would you be? So they go to him first, and he's like, you're going to me first? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, that is so easy. If I could be any animal, I would be my wife's dog. And they're like, what? And he said, let me tell you something. We just moved to Calamasa, and we bought this huge couch. It was expensive. He said, and I asked her one thing. Do not let those dogs on that couch. He said, the next day I go to work, and you know what she sends me? A picture of the dogs on the couch. And I told him they're going to be on the couch. Like, I'm sorry, they have to cuddle with me. They need me. And my mom, she'll come over to visit, and she'll say, can you just put the dogs outside? There's dog hair everywhere. And I'm like, Mom, I have a better idea. Let's just put the kids outside, and the dogs can stay in, and you guys can go play out there. She didn't like that idea either. So before I begin, I'm actually going to start with prayer, because I am nervous, and I just want to speak from God's Spirit and not mine, and not out of fear, but of His power. So if you guys could just close your eyes and pray with me. God, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I just pray that you'll allow me to be bold and to proclaim your word. Just let all the words that you've given me this week just speak through me in the way that you want them to. I know you didn't give me a spirit of fear, but of power, and I just pray that that comes out today, and that I'm just not afraid to give your word, but I'm happy to do it. Amen. All right, so today I'm going to start in 1 Corinthians, which is the love chapter. So if you want to turn there, you can on your phones, or I'm just going to tell you about it. So either way. So I'm going to read a passage, and this passage is actually talking about agape love, which is the whole point of the conference, but I'm going to kind of tie it together because I think to really show Phileo love, you really have to tap into agape love. So 1 Corinthians 13, 1 through 3 says this. If I could speak all the languages of earth and of angels, but I didn't love others, I would only be a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I had the gift of prophecy, and if I understood all of God's secret plans, and I possessed all knowledge, if I had faith that could move mountains, but I didn't love others, I would be nothing. If I gave everything I have to the poor, and even sacrificed my body, I could boast about it, but if I didn't love others, I would have gained nothing. So without love, if whatever I say, whatever I do, whatever I speak, even if I had so much faith that a mountain would actually move, it would not matter if you don't have love. So love is so important. Everything else without love is just useless. Love it's powerful. We've all been affected by love. It's changed us. Sometimes it's hurt us. It can change, it can shape people, it can mold you, it can grow you, and it can transform lives. I definitely saw that when we adopted our 3 kids. They were in a very scared state, and they were not really willing to accept love, but now that I can see where we're at 6 years later, I think they agree with me. Now 6 years later, I can see how much love has transformed their lives. Love it can be very transforming if it's used correctly in the right way. Love can cause some of our deepest pain. We can all have memories where we've really been hurt by someone, and love has really challenged us and hurt us in deep places of our heart. Think about it. If you can think of a time in your life where you've experienced deep hurt, it's mostly associated with love. We get hurt by people. But it can also heal. Love is an action word. It requires work and persistence and attention. You have to give it response, and that's what gives it meaning and value. If you say you love your friend, but you never talk to them or pay attention to them, then they're not going to feel like you really do. It's an action word. You have to put action to your love. We all experience different aspects of love, and the feelings connected to it in both good and bad ways. This morning, I'm going to talk about Phileo Love, which is friendship love. So it's defined as a strong affection between friends. It's not as deep as a family type of love, which we just talked about, but it's based on your emotion and the value that you feel towards another person. It is in relationship to the happiness that you feel from who you are loving. So if you love someone and they love you back or make you feel a certain way, then you continue to love them. If they don't, you're probably going to move on to the next person. It cannot survive without a response from another person. As long as you're receiving something back, you continue to love them. So in that way, Phileo Love is a conditional love, which is why we experience hurt from it. Because some people get hurt and they stop loving. Some people they move, they experience different things, and or they leave you, and it can cause hurt because it is a conditional love. For a friendship, it's a mutual relationship between 2 people where both feel that their needs are being met and they're both giving and receiving within that relationship. So I'm going to look at an event that happened in Exodus 17. I actually studied the life of Moses a couple years ago, and this story to me just described perfectly what friendship love should look like. I'm going to give you a quick overview, but if you want to turn there, it's Exodus 17 verses 8 through 13. So when we get to chapter 17, Moses is actually leading the Israelites through the desert, and they're about to face their first battle. If you don't really know who Moses is, he was a man that was called by God, and he was sent to save the Israelites, which was God's chosen people who were in slavery for 400 years under the Egyptian ruler Pharaoh. Moses was actually an Israelite himself, but when he was a baby, his mom put him in a basket and sent him down the river because the Egyptians were killing all of the firstborn sons. And so her way of saving him was to put him in a basket, put him down the river, and trust that God had him in his hands and would protect him. The basket actually went to Pharaoh's daughter, and he was adopted as an Egyptian. So he was raised as an Egyptian. He knew all of the Egyptian things. And later, as he grew older, he had actually killed an Egyptian man, and he ran away. So at that time, he's He's gone, and God calls him from a burning bush to go and save the Israelites, because those are God's chosen people. So if we go back to the events of chapter 17, Israel has been in the desert for a short time, and they're complaining because they were thirsty and hungry, and they're saying, we're better off as slaves, why don't we just go back there? And God provided them with water, which is what they were desperately needing. And then they made camp in a place called Rephidim, and at that time, a group called the Amalekites came to fight a battle against Israel. So Moses called a man named Joshua to take a group of people to go fight against the Amalekites. And Moses took 2 men to go up a mountain, a hill, and go pray and hold up the staff of God. So he knew God was in control. His plan was to go pray and let God fight the battle. He knew that God had a plan for them. So verse 13 says, it turned out that whenever Moses raised his hands, Israel was winning. But whenever he lowered his hands, Amalek was winning. But Moses' hands got tired. So they got a stone and set it under him. These are the 2 men that were with him. He sat on it, and Aaron and Hur held up his hands, one on each side. So his hands remained steady until the sun went down. Joshua defeated Amalek and its army in the battle. So every time Moses' hands were up, they were winning. If he put his hands down, they were losing. Of course, if you're raising your hands that long, your hands are going to get tired, and he needed help. I think that is a perfect picture of what friendship should look like. How many times in life have you faced something that you just felt, I cannot handle this alone. I cannot keep my hands up by myself. We serve a good God, who is a loving God, but sometimes his ways are not exactly what we pictured, and we're left feeling hurt or not understanding, like, how does God love me, but he's making me go through this? How does God love me, but I have to feel this? And sometimes our hands get tired, and we need help. We question, we wonder why God allows certain things to happen, and it can cause us to have doubt towards God's love towards us. But the truth is, God created us to have each other, and to be the visible love for he's invisible, we can't see him, but we can see each other, and we can feel each other's love, and that's what we're here for, to show each other God's love. He called us to share our stories and share our victories, our heartaches and our achievements, and to show each other all the love that actually is all coming from him anyway. Even if you can't feel it from him, the love you feel from other people is still from him. Galatians 6:2 says, live creatively, friends. If someone falls into sin, forgivingly restore him, saving your critical comments for yourself. You might be needing forgiveness before the day's out. Stoop down and reach out to others who are oppressed. Share their burdens, and so complete Christ's law. If you think you are too good for that, you are badly deceived. We all sin. None of us are perfect. We all need each other, and we all need help. When Moses was on that hill, he couldn't keep his arms raised. He just couldn't do it on his own. It would be easy for people to come along and say, look at you, like God gave you that task and you can't keep your arms up? Or to judge him, like, where's your faith? You don't have faith that God's gonna keep your arms strong? I feel like so many times when people are struggling, we come alongside them and tear them down instead of lifting their arms up. And as sisters in Christ, that's what we're supposed to do, is raise each other's arms up. How many times do we see our sisters fall? And instead of helping them up, we gossip about them or we trample them. And instead of offering to hold up their arms, we judge them like they can't handle what God has given them. But the truth is, a lot of times, we can't handle what God's given us. We need help. Phileo Love, friendship love, needs to be there to help our fellow sisters out. And instead of pushing them down, building them up. So in the year 2011, I've already mentioned that my husband and I went through infertility. And that was the year that is forever in my mind. It was one of the hardest years of my life that I've ever been through. And after years of trying to have a child, it was probably about 3 years, we decided that we would start doing some tests and stuff through the doctors to see what the problem was, why couldn't we have a child, and see if we could do any treatments that would help us to get pregnant, because all we really wanted was a child. And at this time in my life, I felt so broken. I was dealing with things from my past, and I was dealing with my hope for the future all at once, and it was so much for me to handle at once. The infertility road, I don't know if any of you have been on it, but it's a very trying road because it's a constant thing that happens month after month after month with loss and failure, and things just don't happen, and it doesn't just go away. It's always in your face. It's always right in front of you. And I didn't understand because God could easily have said yes. God created everything by speaking. He could have easily said, yes, you can be pregnant. You're pregnant. There we go. But he didn't. He said no. And I didn't get it. I didn't get how God that was good and could say yes was telling me no over something that I thought everyone should just have. Like, why can't I just have a child? Like, I'm a good person. I'd be a good mom. And I didn't get it. And so God led my husband and I to a small church in San Bernardino. And that church would forever change my life. It's the place where I felt him the most in my life. And it's the place where I grew the most in my life. So in the middle of that struggle, he led us to a church with many women there who had been through infertility themselves. And as I was going through treatment, and these women have also been through treatment, they came around me and they were holding up my arms because I couldn't do it. They were falling and I was questioning and doubting. And they came around me and reminded me, God has a plan for me. He wasn't just going to ignore me and let me fall. He had a plan in this, and it wasn't wasted. It wouldn't be wasted, even though it hurt so bad. And only God could have arranged that for my life. The ladies came around me, and they loved me, and they held me, and they encouraged me and supported me. And the church had prayed for us. They all came around us, and they laid hands on us and prayed for us that we would have a child. And that if we didn't, that we would have understanding or peace or something, so that we wouldn't just feel like God just didn't see us and God didn't notice us, because he did, even if we felt like he didn't. And in the midst of my confusion about why God was not allowing me to have a child, he's placed specific people in my life at that time to make sure I would feel his love, even if I wasn't allowing myself to feel it from him. Because at that time, if you told me God loved me, I would be like, sure. Because he's not answering my prayer, and this is a big one. I've dreamed about this since I was a child. But when God put those people in my life to come hold up my hands, and they told me that they loved me, and that they were always going to be there, and that there was a plan, for some reason I trusted that when I wouldn't even trust God's plan. And I think that's how God uses each other, or uses us in other women's lives. We can have such power in going in and lifting up each other's hands if we choose to do so. God used Phileo Love in order to show me his agape love. It was at the end of 2011 that we decided that we would do IVF, which is in vitro fertilization. That word to me was terrifying. It scared me. I knew I was going to have to give myself shots personally, like give them to myself a couple of times a day. I knew it would cost a ton of money. And all of this to hopefully end up with a child that I didn't know we would have. Like, you have about a 50% chance that it will work. And so I got the call from the office to come in and to pick up my box of supplies. So I drove down there, I got them, I came home, I opened the box, and all I saw was needles. And they are not little, they are big. And I was terrified, and I lost it. I was like, I can't do this. Like, there's no way I'm doing this. So I texted my friend who had also been through infertility, and I told her, I can't. My arms were falling. I could not do it by myself. It was too much for me. And at that moment, she stopped everything she was doing. She drove to my house, and she made me a special calendar, and each day had what shots I needed to do. They were all color-coded. She made it where I could easily picture it and see it. And on the top of it, she wrote Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. She came alongside me to hold up my arms when I couldn't hold them up by myself. She did what it says in Galatians. She stooped down to reach me when I felt weighed down, and she encouraged me to remember that agape love that had never left me, even though at that time I couldn't feel it. I felt like it did. I felt like God didn't care or love me. But when she came over and did that for me, I felt a sense of God's love. In that situation in my life, I think one of the benefits I had was I was at a church and these ladies came to me. They came to me, they surrounded me, they helped me. But what about life situations where we can hear God telling us to reach out to someone else and to talk to someone and show Phileo love, but we're scared to do it? In the past week, my kids started school, and I mentioned we just moved, so this is a new school, it's a new thing, and my daughter is a social butterfly. So her old school is her place. She's known, everyone loves her, she has friends. So to say that there was a lot of crying before school started, that's an understatement. She was a wreck. She did not want to go. She told me she's terrified. She doesn't want to have to make new friends. And it's easy to look at her and say, you're going to be fine. You're going to make new friends. Everyone loves you, because they do. But instead of saying that, I could see in her that fear that we as women also have. Because how many of us women go out and say, let me go make a new friend today? Like, that's pretty rare. And it's scary. Even as an adult, that is a scary thing to do. And so I drop her off at school. Hold on, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. So 2 Timothy 1:7 says, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. God wants us to reach out to other women and to become their friends. As I held my daughter, I reminded her that God gives us strength. The fear that she had is okay. We're going to be afraid. In any new situation, we're going to be afraid. I'm afraid up here, but I can't just say forget it, because God can use me to reach you guys, and so I'm choosing to do it. Her going to a new school and choosing to make new friends is her choice. She may be scared to do it, but she can push past that fear and choose to reach out to people anyway. And that's what I told her, and which was funny, because this morning I'm getting ready to come here and she says, Mom, are you nervous? And I said, yeah, I'm pretty nervous. And she said, well, I'm going to tell you what you told me. Even though you're scared, you need to go do it anyway, and you're going to do good. And I was like, oh, thank you. You listened to me. So fear is a real thing when it comes to making new friendships. When you feel that tug on your heart saying, go talk to her. If you're at a store and you see a lady there with kids, and you get it, you've been there, you understand, kids are crazy in the store. I feel like once people are around, they feel like, I'm going to go crazy now. And then everyone's looking at you like you're the crazy one, and you're like, this 2-year-old is the crazy one. Like, I'm just trying to control them, and you can't. So here you are at the store, and then there comes the battle in your mind. And you know the battle I'm talking about. God says, you see that lady over there? You need to go talk to her. And in your head, you say, God, do you see how pretty she is? Do you see me? Like, no, that's not going to work, God. I'm not enough. And he says, go talk to her. And you say, God, her kids are like standing there perfectly. Mine is on the floor. I am not a good enough mom to go talk to her. She is going to judge me. And you tell God, I'm not good enough. But these are not just things you're telling God. These are things you're telling your mind over and over. I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. And every situation can verify that for you. I am not enough to go meet a new friend. I'm not enough to talk to them. What if they don't like me? What if I don't have enough to offer? So we leave, and we don't do what God asked, so we feel guilty. And we feel terrible about ourselves, because that situation just pointed out every negative thing we felt towards ourselves, and then we're saying it over and over and over. But God never has called us any of those things. He says we are worthy, and we need to fight that inner voice that Satan takes to try to distract us from doing what God wants us to do. God speaks worth over us. He's never said we're not enough. We can remember in those situations that just as much as we value what the new friend does, we can approach her with confidence, even though we're fearful. So as I walked my daughter to this new school, I took her to the line. The first day, you're allowed to go in with the kids. After that, they're on their own. So I went in there, and I was like, I'm going with this child. So I walk her in there, and I find her line for her classroom, and I said, okay, here's your line, here's your class, go get in the back of the line. She looks at me and she says, Mom, I can't find the back of the line. And I'm like, okay, my daughter's 9, like she can find the back of a line easily, like it's right there. But this was not just, I can't find the back of the line, Mom. This was her cry for help, and I saw it. I could see it in her eyes. She wanted to make friends, but she didn't feel that she could. So I grabbed her hand. I walked back there with her to the back of the line, and I saw 2 little girls there. And I said, hello, you girls sure look pretty today. And they smiled. And I said, can you cuties help my daughter today? She's new, and I would really appreciate if you would just look out for her for me today and make sure she's not alone at recess. And they said they would. But in that moment, I was teaching my daughter how to make a friend. I was not just saying, go to the back of the line, but I was showing her how to do it. And I think that's something that a lot of us need to learn. So let's go back to the situation that I was talking about earlier. You're in line, you see a lady, God says, go talk to her. You feel the tug at your heart, and God's saying, go do it. And then comes the battle. That part will not go away, ever. That will always be there. When my daughter was at the new school, that battle is in her. Every new person she meets, she's going to battle if she feels valued or good enough to meet them. But we have a light that we need to offer to people. Because Satan doesn't want us to make new friends, and he doesn't want us to show them who God is. But that's in us, and we need to. So we're in line, and God says, go talk to her. And we say, God, do you see how put together she is? I'm a mess. That's where you stop. God knows every hair on your head. He has them numbered. You have value. God, do you see how she's dressed? I'm not good enough. You stop again. God, you created every part of me. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Do you see how well her kids listen? I'm a bad mom. That's when you stop. God can use these moments, if you choose to, instead of feeling fear, to turn it around and to compliment her. I know, that's a weird word, compliment another lady, but you can do it. You go over there and tell her, you are a great mom. Your kids are really listening well. I just think that's awesome. You're doing a really good job. And she's probably going to say, this never happens. Like, this, I'm surprised too. Like, you can use that lie from the enemy, and you can turn that situation around. And remember that no one is perfect. We all struggle. And everyone is fighting a battle inside, or a situation where they feel they can't win, and they feel like they can't feel God. And everyone needs a friend. A small compliment can tear down that initial awkwardness in a new conversation, and it can help put the other lady's guard down, because let's be honest, when we're meeting new women, we have our guard up, because women can be mean. We all have to fight that inner voice, and we need to hear God speak his value over us, and that's the only way you can battle that inner voice. We live in a world of social media where everything looks perfect, and we need to remember that it's not. We all are struggling, and we all need help. In a world where, let's just say this. I was gonna post a picture of my kid's first day at school. Did I post a picture of my daughter crying the whole day before? No, I didn't post that. Who wants to see that? And I'm not gonna just put her emotions out there like that. I went to back to school night the night before. I had to leave early because my youngest daughter was kicking my oldest son. She's like screaming at him. My middle daughter's crying, and I couldn't handle it. I said, I gotta get out of here. I cannot stay. I didn't post that picture. I posted a picture of them right before they went to school arms around each other, looking cute, smiling. I didn't post the 10 pictures that I took where they were like making faces, and my son's like, I don't want her to touch me. I'm like, that is your sister, and she will hug you, and you will smile. I didn't post that picture. You just need to remember that the pictures you see are a glimpse. It's not reality. And if you're comparing your life to someone's social media, it's not real. No one's going to post all the bad stuff. And if they did, we would judge them and say, you're so negative. It's hard to remember that people are posting their best when you see it all the time. Maybe someone posted their new car. They don't post the bill. Maybe someone posted a date night and they're smiling and kissing, and you're like, oh, how come my husband doesn't kiss me like that? Or flowers. You're like, oh, when's the last time my husband got me some flowers? They don't post a picture the night before where they're fighting and screaming at each other and when someone's running out the door mad. No one has a perfect life. We're all broken, which is why we need agape love. We're all imperfect people. So let's get very real here. You can see I'm kind of honest. I just kind of put it out there. Many of us, when we think of love, we feel a sting of pain because we have past hurts. We have friendships that have ended. We have relationships that have ended. We've been hurt by people. We've hurt people. We come into our friendships guarded, especially when it comes to friendships with other women. And because Phileo love is a conditional love, friendships do end, and hurt does happen, and hurt will happen again. It doesn't just stop, because no one is perfect. We all love brokenly. We cannot love perfectly. Only God can do that. We have heard and we've participated in conversations of putting other women down. Did you see her hair? Seriously? She's wearing that? Look at how her kids are acting. Oh my gosh. She is really not even that pretty. Can you believe she is a wife? Ladies, we've all done this. When our love comes from inside of ourselves, it usually comes from a lens, how we see the world, of us feeling insecure. Because we do have that inner voice telling us, we're not enough, you're not good enough. So we choose to put that on other women, and to make ourselves feel better, we put them down. But as Christian women, as women who love God, our source of love should come from a deeper place. It comes from God's perfect agape love, which you're going to hear more about later today. 1 John 4:17 says, we love each other because he first loved us. Because God loves us and finds value in us, we can find value in other people. God tells us in Ephesians 2:20, we are God's masterpiece. Once we find our value in him and we stop trying to look for it in other women and other people, we can truly show Phileo love in a different way. We are called to speak God's truth over each other, to speak God's worth over each other. Just as when we're fighting our inner voice, we need to speak God's worth to us. When we're in relationship with other women, we need to speak God's worth to them. When your friend is struggling, you're not there to judge them, and you're not there to talk bad about them, and you're not there to share their story with the next woman that comes along. You're not in a better position than they are. You may struggle with something different than they struggle with, but you still struggle. We all struggle. We need to come alongside other women, especially in your church, and help raise up their hands, because people's hands are tired and they're falling and they can't handle much more. They get hurt by a woman at church. How do you know you're not going to be the last woman that hurts them before they leave? You need to be there to hold up their hands when their hands are falling down and they are so tired they can't hold them up anymore. You can remind them. God says you are beautiful. You are loved. You have value and you have a purpose. You can remind them. God has chosen you. You are set apart and you are called out. and you can handle whatever situation is coming at you because God is with you, even if you feel like he's not. We all reflect an aspect of God. All of us do. I would say that I reflect him in an artistic way. I'm kind of an artistic person, and I can use that to reach out to other women. And you each have a unique gift that God has given you that you can use to come alongside other women and help raise their hands up. You are powerful. You don't have to be afraid. Tell the women at your church, you're safe talking to me. How many of you guys feel safe talking to another woman? You have to tell them you're safe and then really be safe. Don't say I'm safe and then go share their story. You say I'm safe and then you be safe. You keep what they say to yourself. You are loved by me because I'm your friend and I'm on your team. How many of you guys would like to hear that from another woman? That'd be incredible. If we loved each other in that way, we could do amazing things. I can show you Phileo love because you are unique and you are special, and your value doesn't take away from my value. I'm not competing with you. You can have value and I can have value, and we can both matter. If one person's really good at something, that doesn't mean that you're terrible at everything. You're just good at something else. As life weighs down your arms, I can come alongside you and I can hold them up so you can win the battle. And when life is weighing down my arms, you can come alongside me and you can hold up my arms so I can win my battle, and we are in this together. Phileo love is special when we use it in the right manner. We have all been hurt deeply by friendships, and we have fear of getting into new ones. But God created each of us to reflect him. And because you have value and worth, you can use that and show other people God's love. Isn't it crazy to think that something about you is actually a reflection of God? We are all good at different things. I love thinking that. Like, if you can see God in other people. If you look for their qualities, you can see God in them. Tell people how God has changed your life and help others find value in them. We're not called to tear each other down. We're called to love, and to love well. I challenge you to step out today and to meet a new person, to compliment them, to come alongside them, and to be a safe place for them. I want to read something over you. One of the ladies at my church read it over us, and she sent it to me, and I'm going to read it over you. So if you could go ahead and stand up and grab hands around the room. All the way through. I mean, we're sisters here. Let's do it. Yeah. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. So we need a camera up here. You could totally come up here and take a picture. I'm a photographer, so like every moment to me is special. Like, let me get to capture this. Yeah, there we go. All right. So I'm going to read this over you, and I want you guys to just hold hands with each other as ladies of this church, so that way you guys can make a difference and you guys can be safe for each other. I am your ally. I am for you. I am not your adversary. I am your ally. I am not your competitor. I am your cheerleader. I am not a threat to you. I am safety for you. I am not overshadowing you. I am celebrating you. I am not minimizing you. I am making much of you. I am not jealous of you. I am joyful for you. I am not going to stand in your way. I am going to move obstacles for you. I am not threatened by your success, but I am grateful for your influence. I am not gossiping about you. I am guarding your reputation. I am not your rival. I am your reinforcement. I am for you. I am for you. I am for you. If you guys could take a minute and close your eyes, you can continue to hold hands because it's beautiful, but just close your eyes. I want you to reflect on how God wants you to reach out to those around you. He made you special in such a unique way, and he wants to use you to encourage and to build up those around you. Is God laying someone on your heart to reach out to? Is there an area in your life where you're struggling which is holding you back from reaching out to others? Is there an inner voice inside your head that's telling you you're not good enough, that you need to fight and remind yourself that God says that you are? God wants you to grow as a person and in the area of friendship and of Phileo love. I'm going to pray for us. God, I thank you today for allowing me to speak to these women. I thank you that you are strong and powerful and you have a plan for us. You created us unique, God. God, I just pray that as we fight the battle of just our minds, God, that you take control of the thoughts that we think and that you help us take control of them so that we can remind ourselves that we are special and we have value so we can reach out to other women, God. You see us as beautiful. We're your masterpiece and you created every part of us and nothing will be wasted. You can use all of our situations to help other people, our hurts, our brokenness. I just thank you for letting me come to speak today, God, and giving me the courage and the boldness to do so. And I just thank you for the ladies of this church, God, and I just pray as they grow in their Phileo love that they just connect to each other and they become a safe place for each other. In your name, amen.